The auction of the forgotten. The market smelled like dust, sweat, and fear. Under a torn canopy, aliens shouted, bargained, and laughed. Metal cages lined the sides of the auction stage. Most were already empty. The day's sale was almost over. 2. Girls sat at the edge of the wooden platform, quiet and unwanted. One girl had soft purple skin, long silver hair, and wide, gentle eyes. She looked down, her hands folded in her lap, trembling slightly. The other had wild red eyes, messy black hair, and sharp claws. She glared at everyone like she would bite the next creature that came too close. They were the last two left. No more bids? The auctioneer growled. He was a thick, scaly creature with one broken horn and golden rings on every finger. Starting price? Anyone. A coin. A crumb. No hands raised. They're too weak, muttered one alien. That soft one will break in a day. The other one looks like trouble, said another. A wild animal, the auctioneer sighed and kicked the platform. They're young, strong, good for housework or fighting, depending on which one you pick. Still no one spoke. Just then footsteps echoed through the dusty path. A human man walked into the crowd. He wore simple clothes, old boots, a brown jacket with a tear in the sleeve. He had a thick beard, tired eyes, and a face that didn't smile. He looked like someone who had seen too much. He carried no weapons, no bags, just a pouch at his side. The crowd turned to look at him. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy. But the man didn't look around. His eyes went straight to the two girls on the stage. The soft one raised her head and stared at him. The wild one narrowed her eyes. The auctioneer smirked. You there, human, want to buy a pet? A servant? 2 for the price of 1. The man didn't answer. He walked closer and stopped in front of the stage. He looked at the soft girl first. Her cheeks were hollow, her fingers thin and shaking. But there was a glow in her eyes, like something forgotten, but not gone. Then he turned to the wild one. She growled softly. The man knelt. His eyes didn't blink. Are you afraid? He asked. The wild girl bared her teeth. The soft girl answered, We were. The crowd laughed. They can talk? What a waste. The man stood up and took out his pouch. He placed it on the edge of the platform. It wasn't much. A few silver coins, some small gemstones. It was all he had. Sold, the auctioneer said quickly, snatching the pouch before the human could change his mind. Take them. They're yours now. The man looked at the girls. Come. The soft one stood, slow and careful. She limped as she walked. The wild one stayed. The man waited. He didn't speak, just stood there, quiet. Finally, with a snarl, the wild girl jumped down beside him. They walked away together. Behind them, the crowd went back to laughing. The auctioneer whispered to his assistant, He'll regret this, those two. They carry shadows. But the man didn't look back. They walked through old streets and broken paths. The soft girl coughed. The wild one stayed alert, watching, every alley, every sound. Where are you taking us? She asked. Home, the man replied. Why? The soft girl whispered. He didn't answer. They reached a small, broken shelter near the edge of the town. It looked like it was made of scraps, metal sheets, old cloth, and wood. But it was warm inside. There was a fire, a blanket, and 2 bowls of soup. The girls sat on the floor. The man gave them each a bowl. The wild girl sniffed it first. Poison? The soft girl took a sip. Tears filled her eyes. It's real food. The man said, Nothing. He just sat near the fire, staring into the flames. Outside, the wind howled. Inside, silence lived. That night, the soft girl curled up under the blanket. She hadn't had warmth in years. She fell asleep quickly, but the wild one stayed. Awake, she watched the human. He didn't tie them, didn't lock the door, didn't ask for anything. He just sat there, a broken man, a quiet man. The wild girl whispered to herself, What do you want from us? But the man didn't speak. He closed his eyes and let the fire die slowly. And, in that small, forgotten house, two broken girls were no longer alone. The human didn't speak much. Morning light broke through holes in the scrap metal roof. The soft girl was already awake, sitting with her knees pulled to her chest. She had a small bruise on her cheek. Her silver hair fell over her face and she didn't dare look up. The wild one, on the other hand, paced like a trapped beast. Her red eyes followed the man's every move as he boiled water over the fire. "Why didn't you chain us?" she asked. The man didn't reply. "Others did," she continued. "They feared I'd run." Still, silence. He placed 3 cups near the fire. The tea smelled like herbs and smoke. The soft girl slowly reached for a cup. Her hands trembled, but the man didn't stop her. He only stared into the flames as if he saw something far away. The wild girl didn't touch the tea. "You're strange, human." The man finally looked at her. His eyes weren't angry, just tired. Old pain sat behind them like dust on a closed book. "You were bought," he said, "not imprisoned." The soft girl whispered, "What's your name?" He paused. "Names are heavy things," he said. "You don't need mine yet." That day, he left without warning. The soft girl watched from the door as he vanished into the ruins beyond town. He walked with a limp, his shadow stretched by the morning sun. He carried only a small blade and a bag. He didn't lock the door, the wild girl muttered. "We could run," the soft girl said. The wild one sneered. "You still trust him?" "No," she replied softly, "but I trust the food." The wild one laughed for the first time, but there was no joy in it. "You're soft, like your skin. That's why no one wanted you." The soft girl didn't answer. She picked up a rag and started wiping dust from the shelves. One had small wooden carvings, creatures with horns and wings. She asked, "Do you think he lives alone?" The wild girl shrugged. "Maybe no one could live with him." Hours passed. The sun dipped low. The man returned after nightfall. He was bleeding. A long scratch marked his side, and one sleeve was torn. He didn't groan, didn't explain. He dropped a bag on the floor, pulled out dried roots and pieces of fruit, and placed them on the table. The soft girl ran to him. "You're hurt." He waved her off. "Not deep." "You fought someone?" "Something." He limped toward a chair and sat. The wild girl stared at the bag. "You risked your life for this?" she asked. "For you," he said quietly. The in our room fell silent. Later that night, as the soft girl washed his wound, the wild one stood by the door, arms crossed. "You could be a slaver in disguise," she said. "A trickster." "I could," the man replied. "Then why do this?" she asked. He looked at her. "Because no one else did." She didn't speak after that. Days passed. The man left each morning, returned each night. Sometimes limping, sometimes with more food, sometimes with nothing. The girls began to fill the silence with chores. The soft girl cleaned the house. She began humming when she worked. Her voice was soft, like wind through leaves. The wild girl sharpened tools, chopped old wood, and kept watch from the roof. She never stayed still for long, but she always checked the path, waiting for the man's return. One evening, as they sat near the fire, the soft girl whispered, "I want to sing again." "Like before," the man said. "Then sing." "I'm afraid," she said. "My voice once hurt people." The man didn't blink. "Then you learned to use it right." The wild girl laughed. "And me? What should I do with claws made for killing?" The man poked the fire. "Kill the right things." That night, the soft girl dreamt of her home world, flowers that glowed in the dark, lakes that sang, and voices in harmony. She woke up with tears, but she smiled. The wild girl sat at the window. She hadn't slept. She looked back at the man lying on the floor, snoring quietly. "He fights monsters for us," she whispered. "Maybe." the soft girl said. He's a monster too. Or maybe, the wild one replied. He's the only one who saw we weren't. Outside, a wolf howled in the ruins. Inside, for the first time, the wild girl didn't flinch. The sky turned dark faster that day. Black clouds rolled in and the wind carried the smell of rust and danger. The man didn't come home. The soft girl sat by the small window hugging her knees. She watched the dirt path where he always returned. Every evening he arrived just before sunset. But now the sun had vanished and there was no sign of him. The wild girl paced the floor. Her claws clicked softly on the metal panels. Her tail twitched. Left, right, left. He should have been back, she said. The soft girl whispered. Maybe he found trouble. He always finds trouble, the wild one snapped. Lightning cracked the sky. Rain fell hard, pouring through the holes in the roof. The soft girl grabbed buckets and pots to catch the leaks. She moved quickly, her hands soft but steady. He'll be cold if he comes back wet. The wild one watched her, confused. Why do you still care so much? The soft girl smiled gently. He fed me, when I hadn't eaten in days. The wild one didn't answer. Her jaw tightened. She looked out the door, then back at the soft girl, then back out again. Then she moved. I'm going to find him, she growled. She moved like a shadow in the rain, fast, quiet, deadly. The wind howled around her. The scent of the man's path was faint but still there. She followed footprints through mud and trash, past broken shacks and twisted metal. Then she stopped. Blood. Fresh drops on a stone. A smear on a wall. Her heart jumped. She crouched low and followed the trail deeper into the ruins. She found him near the edge of a collapsed structure. He was slumped against a wall, one hand pressed to his ribs. Blood ran down his arm. A beast, half metal, half bone, lay dead nearby, its eyes still glowed faintly. You idiot, she whispered. The man opened his eyes weakly. You followed me. Shut up, she snapped. She knelt beside him and checked the wound. Deep. Nasty. But not fatal. He groaned as she pulled him up. You shouldn't have come, he said. You're the only human I've ever liked, she said with a snarl. Don't make me regret it. Back at the house, the soft girl gasped when she saw them. She hurried to boil water and tear strips of cloth. The wild girl helped, holding the man still as the soft one cleaned the wound. Why do you keep going out there? The soft girl asked, tears in her eyes. The man didn't answer. The wild one growled, Say something. He looked at them both. For you, he said simply. The wild girl turned away. Stupid answer. But she smiled. That night the man lay on the floor, wrapped in a warm blanket. His breathing was steady but slow. The soft girl sang softly. Just enough to calm the air. The wild one sharpened a blade. You know, the soft girl said, you could be gentle. If you tried. The wild girl snorted. I was made to be a weapon. I don't know gentle. You held his weight. You didn't let him fall. The wild girl paused. You didn't have to go out there, the soft girl added. But you did. The wild one stared at the flame. Maybe I don't like being alone anymore. Morning came. The man opened his eyes. The soft girl smiled. You're awake. The wild girl sat cross-legged beside him, arms crossed. You better not die. I still have things to yell at you. The man smirked faintly. I'll try not to disappoint. As the days passed, the girls took charge. The soft one tended the fire, prepared simple meals, and kept the house warm. Her touch made the cold metal home feel soft, almost like a real family place. The wild one set traps outside, sharpened blades, and patrolled the area like a guard. Her claws gleamed. Her eyes scanned everything. But one day, a new sound came. The sound of boots. Marching. The wild girl climbed the roof and gasped, Raiders. How many? The man asked, standing slowly despite the pain. 6, she growled. Heavily armed. The soft girl trembled. What do we do? The man looked at the wild girl. Can you fight? She smirked. Can I breathe? The raiders came closer. The soft girl grabbed a small knife, but her hands shook. The wild girl crouched low, eyes glowing red. The first raider burst through the door. He didn't last 3 seconds. The wild girl moved like lightning, claws to throat. Blood on the floor. Another came. She spun, kicked, and tore. The soft girl screamed as the fight grew louder. The man, still hurt, threw a burning log into one raider's face. The soft girl pushed over a shelf and crushed another. When it ended, silence returned. The floor was stained. The wild girl stood, breathing hard. Her eyes met the man's. You knew I'd protect you, she said. He nodded. You protected us. That night, the soft girl washed the blood away. The wild one sat on the roof watching stars. And inside, the man smiled in his sleep. For the first time, they weren't just survivors. They were something stronger, something dangerous, and something deeply, quietly beautiful. The wild girl sat on the roof alone. Rain had stopped hours ago, but the air still smelled like smoke and blood. She hadn't cleaned her claws. They were still red. She stared at the stars, but she wasn't thinking about the sky. She was thinking about the screams. Inside, the soft girl placed another wet cloth on the human's forehead. His wound had opened again during the fight. His face was pale. His chest rose and fell slowly. Why did they come? She whispered. The wild girl jumped down from the roof without a sound. Because someone knows we're alive. Us? No. She looked at the man. Him. The next morning, the man woke up coughing. The soft girl ran to bring water. The wild girl stood at the door watching the trees. You need to move, she told him. I'm not ready, he said, voice rough. They'll come again. He nodded. She stepped forward. You fought with a burning log last time. You almost died. Next time, let me go first. He gave a weak smile. You already did. That evening, the soft girl tried to hum a song while she cooked. But her voice broke halfway through. She sat down and stared at the floor. What's wrong? The wild one asked, sitting beside her. I used to sing to heal people, she whispered. But now, my voice is cracked. I don't know how to use it anymore. The wild one didn't say anything at first. Then softly she said, I used to fight for fun. I used to break bones to feel powerful. The soft girl looked up. I didn't know what it meant to protect, the wild girl said, until I saw him bleeding for us. That night the wind carried a new sound, growling. Not just one voice, many. The wild girl stood quickly. Wolves? The man grabbed his coat. No, scavenger beasts. How many? Too many. He walked outside, with his blade. The soft girl followed with a lantern, but the wild one stepped ahead of them both. Not this time, she said. I'll face them first. The beasts came from the east. Long bodies, metal tails, glowing yellow eyes, 5 of them. They snarled and hissed, sniffing the air like hungry monsters. The man raised his weapon, but the wild girl was already gone. She moved like a shadow in firelight. She leapt into the middle of the beast before they could strike. A claw tore across one beast's neck. A scream echoed through the trees. Another lunged at her. She ducked, rolled, and slashed its underbelly. Sparks flew. Blood sprayed. The soft girl held her breath. She had seen the wild one fight before, but not like this. The wild girl's eyes glowed. Her body moved too fast, too sharp. She didn't dodge. She danced. Every blow she gave was precise. Every move meant survival. She roared louder than the beasts. It wasn't a scream of fear. It was power. But then, one of the beasts caught her shoulder. It bit hard. She yelled, blood pouring down her arm. The man ran forward. Fall back. No, she growled. Let me finish it. She didn't wait. She jumped on the beast's back, drove her claws deep into its skull, and twisted. The monster dropped instantly. The last one ran away. The wild girl stood in the clearing, blood covering her arms, chest rising and falling. She looked like a demon, but her eyes were crying. The man walked to her slowly. "Are you hurt?" She didn't move. "I'm fine," she said, but her voice trembled. The soft girl wrapped a blanket around her from behind. "You're shaking." "I couldn't stop," the wild girl whispered. "Something inside me, I let it out." The man met her gaze. "You protected us. You didn't lose control." "I did." He reached out. She flinched, but he only touched her shoulder gently. Even beasts can choose who to protect. That night, the soft girl cleaned her wounds carefully. The wild one stared at her claws. "I was made to kill. But you saved," the soft girl said. "Does that change what I am?" The soft girl smiled. "You're learning who you want to be." Later, the man gave her a small box. Inside was a soft piece of cloth and a worn, old patch, a symbol of a warrior from Earth. "This is yours," he said. "I don't belong to Earth," she muttered. He looked at her. "Then let it belong to you." She took it, held it tightly, and for the first time she looked down at her claws not with hate, but with pride. The soft girl sat near the fire, humming quietly. Her voice was shaky like a bird with a broken wing. Still, she sang. It was the first time she had done so in front of the man and the wild girl since they arrived at the shelter. The man stirred. His tea. The wild girl sat cross-legged beside the door, sharpening her knife, pretending not to listen. But she was listening. When the song ended, the man spoke. "That song, where is it from?" The soft girl looked down. "My mother." "You remember her?" he asked gently. The soft girl gave a slow nod. Only her voice. Later that evening, the soft girl brought out something wrapped in cloth. She unfolded it slowly. A broken crystal pendant. It glowed faintly. The man leaned closer. "What is it?" "It's part of who I was," she said softly. "Part of who I still am?" "Maybe." The wild girl walked over, curious. "You said you were a singer before. What does this do?" The soft girl took a deep breath. "When I sing with this crystal, I can heal," she said. "But only if my heart is calm. Only if I feel safe." "Why didn't you use it on him?" the wild one asked, pointing to the man. "I tried once. Back when he was hurt," the soft girl whispered. "But I was still scared, and the crystal stayed cold." That night, while the man slept, the two girls sat by the fire. "I think he's hiding something too," the soft girl said suddenly. The wild girl raised a brow. "He barely talks. That's not a secret. That's just being a human." "No," the soft girl said. "He knows things about fighting, about the beasts. And he always watches the sky." "You think he's running from someone?" the wild girl asked. "Maybe," the soft girl replied. "Or maybe he lost something. Someone." The next morning, while collecting wood outside the shelter, the soft girl found a small creature, a baby bird-like alien, shaking in the cold. It had a broken wing. She picked it up gently and brought it inside. The wild girl frowned. "That thing will die by night." "I can help it," the soft girl said. "I want to try." She wrapped it in a soft cloth, gave it water, and placed it near the fire. Then she picked up the crystal again. For hours, she sat there, eyes closed, humming softly. Her hands hovered over the small creature as the crystal pulsed faintly. The man watched quietly from the shadows. The wild girl didn't interrupt. As the last note faded, the crystal flashed once, just a tiny glow. The creature chirped, the wing moved. The soft girl gasped. It worked. She began to cry, smiling through her tears. That evening, the man spoke as they ate. "You said your songs were feared," he said. The soft girl nodded slowly. "On my world, our voices could heal or destroy. Some were trained to use them in war. I never wanted to fight. So what happened? They took us, she said. Slavers. They tested my voice. When I refused to sing for war, they hurt me, made me sing until I passed out. The wild girl clenched her fists. I hope they all rot. The soft girl reached out and gently touched her hand. I don't want revenge, she whispered. I just want to sing again. Without fear. That night the wild girl took her outside under the stars. No one out here, she said. Just us. Try again. The soft girl looked nervous. I'll protect you, the wild girl promised. Even from yourself. The soft girl closed her eyes, and she sang. The sound was soft but powerful, like water flowing through stone. The ground seemed to warm. The trees swayed gently. Even the stars seemed to shine brighter. When she stopped, the wild girl smiled. That was beautiful. Back inside, the man placed the crystal pendant into a small metal casing he had built from scraps. This will protect it, he said, handing it back. Your voice is a gift. The soft girl looked at both of them. So are you. That night, the wind blew peacefully, and in a shelter made of scraps and silence, the girl once known as Too Soft was becoming someone strong, not with blades, not with claws, but with light. A light only a human and a wild friend had helped her believe in again. The wild girl stood on the roof again, her claws resting on the edge as she scanned the quiet hills. Days had passed without trouble. No beasts, no raiders, no shadows in the wind, but her muscles stayed tense as if danger waited just out of sight. Inside the shelter, the soft girl sang while she cooked. Her voice was calm now, and her crystal pendant glowed with warmth. The human man had begun walking again, though slowly. His wounds were healing, but he spoke even less now. The wild girl jumped down with a soft thud. He's thinking too much again, she said to the soft one. I know, the soft girl replied. He watches the horizon every night, like someone's coming, the wild girl muttered. That night they ate together around the fire. The food was warm, the shelter quiet. The soft girl finally asked, What did you lose? The man didn't speak. The wild girl leaned forward. We've shown you everything, our pasts, our pain. Why do you still hide yours? The man's eyes stayed on the flames. Then slowly he said, I had a daughter. Both girls froze. She sang too, he added. Not like you, but she had joy in her voice, even in a war zone. What happened to her? The soft girl whispered. She died. His voice cracked. Because I wasn't fast enough. The soft girl placed her hand gently on his arm. I failed her, he said. And then I failed myself. You didn't fail us, the wild girl said softly. The man looked up. His eyes were wet, but no tears fell. You saved us, the soft girl added. You gave us a home when no one else did. The next morning, everything changed. A ship appeared in the sky. Silent, black, no markings. It hovered for a moment, then vanished behind the hills. The wild girl's eyes narrowed. Scouts. They found us, the man said. Who? The soft girl asked, holding her pendant tightly. Those who want you back, the man said. They packed fast. The soft girl folded her crystal into a cloth pouch. The wild girl strapped blades to her sides. The man checked old weapons and adjusted his coat. But before they could leave, a sound shook the ground. Engines. Troops. The black ship returned, and this time, it landed. A dozen armored aliens stepped out, weapons ready. A voice boomed from a speaker. Return the stolen property, or die. The wild girl stepped forward, growling. She's not property, she roared. Neither am I, the soft girl said quietly, stepping beside her. The man stood between them and the soldiers. You'll have to go through me. The leader of the aliens laughed. We will. The wild girl launched first. She moved like a storm, cutting through the first soldier with a spin and claw strike. Sparks flew, blood splashed the dirt. The man fired his old blaster, taking down 2 more. The soft girl didn't fight with weapons. She stood behind them, singing. Her voice rose high, steady, pure. Her crystal glowed and the wind stirred with power. The injured raiders screamed as pain left their bodies, but so did hate. The soft girl wasn't healing just wounds. She was healing hearts. More soldiers rushed. Where the wild girl took a blade to the leg but didn't fall. She snarled and slammed her elbow into her attacker, breaking his helmet. She laughed. You call this power? The man took a hit to the shoulder. Blood poured, but he didn't stop. Protect the girls, he grunted. Suddenly, the soft girl's song changed, from healing to warning. The wind shifted. A low hum filled the air. The black ship shook. Cracks formed in its armor. Her song grew stronger, clear, beautiful, terrifying. The raiders dropped their weapons. They fell to their knees. One by one, they fled. Silence returned. The fire crackled behind them. The black ship hissed and fell apart, useless. The soft girl collapsed, breathing hard. Her pendant had turned white hot. The wild girl caught her before she hit the ground. You did it, she whispered. I didn't know I could, the soft girl replied, trembling. The man knelt beside them. You both saved me, he said. We saved each other, the wild girl said. Later, under a safer sky, they sat beside the fire again, quiet, tired, but alive. The wild girl looked at the man. You once had a daughter. He nodded slowly. You have 2 now, she said firmly. The man looked at them both. He didn't speak, but he pulled them into a quiet, warm hug. And for the first time in many years, he let himself cry. 1 year later, the marketplace stood again, but it was not the same. The cages were gone. The chains had been melted down. The auctioneer's stage, once used for selling lives, had become a place for stories, music, and healing. The humans and aliens who gathered there now came not to buy, but to listen. At the front of the crowd stood the man, with his coat repaired, his eyes clear. The wild girl stood tall beside him, armored in steel she had forged herself. Her claws were polished, her back straight, and beside her, the soft girl wore flowing robes that shimmered like water. A crystal pendant hung at her chest, glowing gently. Her voice had become known across sectors, healing villages, taming beasts, even calming warships. They were no longer the unsold ones. They were legends. Why did we come back here? The wild girl asked, her voice low. The man answered without turning. To end what started here. And begin something better, the soft girl added with a small smile. The crowd grew quiet. The soft girl stepped up onto the old wooden stage. She looked down for a moment, remembering the day she sat here hungry, trembling, waiting to be claimed like an object. She took a deep breath and looked up. This place used to sell pain, she said, her voice clear. Now it will spread hope. And she began to sing. The song started soft. Then it rose and rose. Her voice filled the air like warm rain, washing away the old dust and hate. People wept, aliens, humans, children, elders. The air shimmered with light. Even the old auctioneer, now gray and retired, wiped his eyes when her voice faded. Silence held the crowd. Then came the applause. Not loud, but strong, real, unbroken. After the song, a young alien girl stepped forward from the crowd. She had short horns, tattered clothes, and eyes that held too many years of sadness. She bowed, deeply. Please, she said. Can I stay with you? The man looked at her, so did the girls. The wild one stepped forward and held out her hand. You already are, she said. Word spread quickly. That day, the old auction house was renamed, the Sanctuary of the Forgotten. People brought broken ones there, orphans, ex-slaves, war survivors. They were given food, beds, names, but more than that, they were given worth. One evening, as the sun set behind the rebuilt rooftops, the man sat quietly on a bench sipping warm tea. The soft girl sat beside him, her head resting on his shoulder. The wild girl stood a few feet away, watching children spar with sticks, showing them how to block and move. "She's good with them," the man said. "She's good with everyone," the soft girl replied. "She just hides it behind her claws." He smiled, then looked down at the soft girl's pendant. "Does it still sing with you?" She nodded. "Now it sings for me." Later that night, the wild girl stood alone on the old auction stage. She stared at the stars. The soft girl walked up and stood beside her. "Thinking about the past?" "No," the wild one said. "Thinking about the future." She looked at the crowd below. So many lives, so many stories still being written. "We were trash," she said. "Unwanted." "We were rare," the soft girl corrected. "Too rare for anyone else to understand." But he did. They both looked toward the man, who was laughing now as a child tugged his sleeve. The wild girl whispered, "He saved us." "No," the soft one said gently. "He saw us. We saved ourselves." That night, the three sat around the fire again, just like old times. No blood, no battles, just peace. The man leaned back. "You two ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't walked into that market that day?" The wild girl chuckled. "I'd probably be dead. I'd still be in a cage," the soft girl said quietly. He nodded slowly. "And I'd still be running from ghosts." The fire crackled. "But instead," he continued, "I have 2 daughters, fierce and soft, wild and wise." The wild girl threw a small pebble at him. "Don't get mushy." The soft girl laughed. The stars above blinked gently, like they, too, were watching. Once no one bid on them. They were called useless, dangerous, not worth a coin. But now the galaxy watched their light, and no one dared to forget them again.